All right, give me just a moment. Let me make sure we are live. Okay, that's weird. Okay, yes, we are live. Hello, everyone, once again, and thank you once again for joining me. I am Mikhail the Stray Cat, and we're going to finish off Chapter 4 of Thomas Sowell's Basic Economics. So, without further ado, let's pick up where we left off. The meaning of costs. Sometimes the rationale for removing particular things from the process of weighing costs against benefits is expressed in some such question as, how can you put a price on art or education, health, music, etc.? The fundamental fallacy underlying this question is the belief that prices are simply put on things. So long as art, education, health, music, and thousands of other things all require time, effort, and raw material, the costs of these inputs are inherent. These costs do not go away because a law prevents them from being conveyed through prices in the marketplace. Ultimately, to society as a whole, costs are the other things that could have been produced with the same resources. Money flows and price movements are symptoms of that fact. And suppressing those symptoms will not change that underlying fact. One reason for the popularity of price controls is a confusion between prices and costs. For example, politicians who say that they will bring down the cost of medical care almost invariably mean that they will bring down the prices paid for medical care. The actual costs of medical care, the years of training for doctors, the resources used in building and equipping hospitals, the hundreds of millions of dollars for years of research to develop a single new medication, are unlikely to decline in the slightest. Nor are these things even likely to be addressed by politicians. Yeah, where we heard that before. What politicians mean by bringing down the cost of medical care is reducing the price of medicines and reducing the fees charged by doctors or hospitals. Once the distinction between prices and costs is recognized, then it is not very surprising that price controls have the negative consequences that they do, because price ceilings mean a refusal to pay the full costs. Those who supply housing, food, medications, or innumerable other goods and services are unlikely to keep on applying them in the same quantities and qualities when they cannot recover the costs that such quantities and qualities require. This may not become apparent immediately, which is why price controls are often popular, but the consequences are lasting and often become worse over time. Housing does not disappear immediately when there is rent control, but it deteriorates over time without being replaced by sufficient new housing as it wears out. Existing medicines do not necessarily vanish under price controls, but new medicines to deal with cancer, AIDS, Alzheimer's, and numerous other afflictions are unlikely to continue to be developed at the same pace when the money to pay for the costs and risks of creating new medications is just not there anymore. But all this takes time to unfold, and memories may be too short for most people to connect the bad consequences they experienced to the popular policies they supported some years back. Wow, that sounds really familiar to me. Despite how obvious all this might seem, there are never ending streams of political schemes designed to escape the realities being conveyed by prices, whether through direct price controls or by making this or that affordable with subsidies, or by having the government itself supply various goods and services free, which is an oxymoron, as a right. Yeah, about that. There may be more ill-conceived economic policies based on treating prices as just nuisances to get around than on any other single fallacy. What all these schemes have in common is that they exempt some things from the process of weighing costs and benefits against one another. Asterisk. Excuse me. Ow. A New York Times writer, for example, said, quote, "We need high-quality, universal subsidized daycare," unquote. Alyssa Quart from "Crushed by the Cost of Childcare," unquote. New York Times, August 18th, 2013, Sunday Review section, page 4. In other words, some people should make the decision to have children and simultaneously pursue a career, leaving the costs to be paid by taxpayers who had nothing to do with these decisions, and with no one basing these decisions on weighing the costs against the benefits, except perhaps third-party observers with no personal stake in the outcome and with no adverse consequences for being wrong. End of asterisk. A process essential to maximizing the benefits from scarce resources which have alternative uses. At this point, I almost feel like Thomas Sowell is starting to sound like a broken record about this particular point. But yeah, it really needs to be rehashed as many times as possible. There are scarce resources, pretty much all of which have alternative uses. This cannot be overstated. Anyway, moving on. The most valuable economic role of prices is in conveying information about an underlying reality, while at the same time providing incentives to respond to that reality. Prices, in a sense, can summarize the end result of a complex reality in a simple number. For example, a photographer who wants to buy a telephoto lens may confront a choice between two lenses that produce images of equal quality and with the same magnification, but one of which emits twice as much light as the other. This second lens can take pictures in dimmer light, but there are optical problems created by a wider lens opening that admits more light. While the photographer may be wholly unaware of these optical problems, their solution can require a more complex lens made of more expensive glass. What the photographer is made aware of is that the lens with the wider opening has a higher price. The only decision to be made by the photographer is whether the higher price is worth it for the particular kinds of pictures that he or she wishes to take. A landscape photographer who takes pictures outdoors on sunny days may find the higher price lens not worth the extra money, while a photographer who takes pictures indoors in museums that do not permit flashes to be used may have no choice but to pay more for the lens with the wider opening. Because knowledge is one of the scarcest of all resources, prices play an important role in economizing on the amount of knowledge required for decision-making by any given individual or organization. The photographer needs no knowledge of the science of optics in order to make an efficient trade-off when choosing among lenses, while the lens designer who knows optics needs have no knowledge of the rules of museums or the market for photographs taken in museums and in other places with limited amounts of light. In a different economic system which does not rely on prices, but relies instead on a given official or a planning commission to make decisions about the use of scarce resources, a vast amount of knowledge of the various complex factors behind even a relatively simple decision like producing and using a camera lens would be required in order to make an efficient use of scarce resources which have alternative uses. Again, sounding like a broken record, but it can't be overstated. After all, glass is used not only in camera lenses, but also in microscopes, telescopes, windows, mirrors, and innumerable other things. To know how much glass should be allocated to the production of each of these many products would require more expertise in more complex subjects than any individual or any manageable sized group can be expected to master. Although the 20th century began with many individuals and groups looking forward to a time when price coordinated economies would be replaced by centrally planned economies, the rise and fall of centrally planned economies took place over several decades. And I would note, this is me personally, to the tune of numerous millions of needless deaths, primarily due to starvation and exposure. Just so it's out there. By the end of the 20th century, even most socialist and communist governments around the world had returned to the use of prices to coordinate their economies. Gee, why am I not surprised? However attractive central planning may have seemed before it was tried, concrete experience led even its advocates to rely more and more on price-coordinated markets. An international study of free markets in 2012 found the world's freest market to be in Hong Kong, in a country with a communist government. End of quote. End of chapter 4. And for that matter, end of part 1 of Thomas Sowell's Basic Economics. Before I continue, I would like to thank everyone who has watched and listened to me, and thus through me to Mr. Thomas Sowell. Up to this point, for giving a simple, silly, stray cat pirate like me even a moment of your precious time. I hope that all of you have enjoyed this. I hope that at least some of you will come back for more, because there is more to come. And I hope that everyone caught the message in the title of this video, because I have a special announcement to make. Later today, I will be doing a test stream, if you will, to ensure that I will be able to live stream and hopefully make videos in days to come on both my YouTube as well as my Rumble channel. There is a link in the description box to my Rumble channel. If you click on that link, or if you simply look me up on Rumble, you will probably find yourself looking at more or less a blank screen, simply because I have never posted anything on alt tech. Tomorrow morning, circumstances permitting, I intend to change that. I will make my first Rumble stream, which I will also stream here on my YouTube channel. Tomorrow morning, I'm thinking about 10 o'clock Central Standard Time, and it will be a reading from a different author, namely Murray Rothbard, and I will be reading from The Anatomy of the State. I hope that all of you, if this interests you at all, will go there, will watch, give me a like, subscribe if you wish. But regardless of your choice, I hope that you have enjoyed everything thus far, and do not worry, I will continue reading Thomas Sowell's Basic Economics. Until then, as always, live free or die trying. Stray cat out.